I knew at that point that I had torn my LCL. Yep, you heard that right. In December of 2021, I was sparring with a buddy and I tore my LCL. But in just over 4 months, I was able to rehab myself back to training BJJ, running a 10K, and rucking pain-free without surgery. In this video, I'll give you some background about the LCL, knee injuries, and BJJ, and then I'll show you how I rehabbed it.
Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of...
Alright, so let's take a look at the fibular collateral ligament, better known as the lateral collateral ligament, or LCL. It's a fiber structure that attaches the lateral femoral condyle to the lateral portion of the head of the fibula. The LCL is responsible for stopping excessive varus forces, or the separation of the head of the fibula and the femoral condyle. This separation happens when we bring our leg into the position to do the triangle choke or other positions like the gogoplata, de la riva, the bottleneck, and half guard. During the triangle, as the opponent tries to posture up, it acts as a varus force on the knee. Consequently, this is how I injured mine. I was going to set up a triangle choke, and my opponent was able to posture up because, let's be honest, I'm still pretty shitty at BJJ. I grabbed his leg as he stood up to prevent him from lifting me. As I was squeezing to hold his posture down, I heard a loud pop and I felt a shift in my left knee. So that shift, coupled with the audible pop, pretty much told me that I had torn my LCL. Just to solidify my suspicions, I asked my coworker to do a varus test on me, and there was notable increased laxity in my left knee at 0 to 30 degrees of flexion. And even with the increased laxity, it turns out the posterior lateral corner consists of many different structures that also assist in preventing excessive varus force at the knee, including the popliteus tendon, the anterolateral ligament, and the popliteofibular ligament. So this means that even though the LCL can't do its job anymore, other structures remain to assist with stability at those angles. It also may come as no surprise that knee injuries in BJJ are so common given the nature of the sport. In fact, an epidemiological analysis of the prevalence of knee injuries in BJJ published in 2021 found that out of 198 amateur and professional BJJ fighters between 18 and 60 years old, 88% reported having at least one knee injury, and 25% had had two or more. Now, a recent case series in the Orthopedic Journal of Sports Medicine was published back in 2019. This article highlighted that the partial rupture of the LCL and complete rupture of the ALL occurred in the current series at a rate of approximately 25.9% of all BJJ athletes presenting with a knee injury, and that these injuries seem to have excellent non-operative outcomes. Now, keep in mind that this was a smaller case series, but up until that point, only one case report had been formally documented. So taking this into consideration and the fact that I'm a physical therapist, I thought, well, why not just rehab it on my own? And that's exactly what I did. The first 2 weeks consisted of controlling excessive swelling, basic range of motion drills, light activities like walking my dog, and resistance training to prevent atrophy. I tracked my progress in 3-week increments. The 3 primary movements I tracked were knee flexion in the kneeling position, single leg squat stability, and running tolerance. So we'll start at the beginning of week 3. I wasn't able to reach full knee extension and my single leg squat was pretty unstable and painful. I even had to use a bike that I could pedal with limited knee flexion. I didn't even try to run at this stage, and I started incorporating blood flow restriction training and continued to do this 2 times weekly until week 12. At week 6, my kneeling had improved and I was able to go into limited pigeon pose. Although I still lacked mobility compared to the right side, my single leg squat had improved in depth and pain. Even though I was able to start biking on a regular stationary bike, I still developed a noticeable limp about 5 minutes into my first attempt at a longer run. I also started swimming to better maintain my aerobic capacity. 2 of the supplemental exercises that I performed regularly from week 3 to week 6 are the single leg squat to a bench and the backward sled pull. At week 9, my kneeling was back to full range with my body weight supported. The pigeon pose was equal to my right side as well. Single leg squat had improved, but there was still some instability on the descent. And I was also able to do some light rolling, mainly working on mount retention since some of the positions in guard were still giving me some issues. I also ran about 8 miles total. So after week 9, I decided to make a goal to run a 10K race. I figured since I had stringed together a couple of pain-free runs, in 2 months I'd be able to meet that goal. Week 12, I had improved to the point where I was able to tolerate full body weight with several movement progressions on the ground. The single leg squat was to full depth, however I still had a slight heel lift when I reached the bottom. Running mileage had increased to 12 miles with some light speed work, and I even threw on my ruck for a couple of miles. I continued rolling and pulling guard occasionally, but I asked my training partner to avoid leg locks. The supplemental exercises I performed from week 6 to week 12 were Romanian deadlifts and weighted Turkish get-ups. Week 17 was race week, and on top of being able to do full sissy squats, I ran the 10K or 6.2 miles in 53 minutes and 35 seconds, which is an 8:39 minute per mile pace. And even though it's not at or below the 8 minute per mile standard, given the circumstances, I was okay with this pace. 1 week later, I incorporated some more advanced exercises to see if I was prepared for a faster paced ruck. If you want to see some specific exercises that have helped me and many others prepare for rucking, click the link in the description below once you finish this video. Since I was able to complete these exercises, I strapped on my ruck and did a quick 4-miler, maintaining less than a 15 minute per mile pace, pain-free. I think it's worth noting here that I really didn't do anything that special this entire time. I respected the body's ability to heal while training other areas to prevent further loss of function. And one of the biggest takeaways here is that sometimes less is more, especially when you're dealing with training and injuries. On one hand, if you do too little, you could delay healing. And on the other hand, if you do too much, you risk making the injury worse. There is a therapeutic window there for everyone, and unless you're really experienced training or you have some medical expertise, it's really hard to find that window. So while I hope this outline helps, you really need a good clinician in your corner that understands the demands of your sport or your job. If you're training hard and you're having pain and you need some advice, contact me at combatathletephysio@gmail.com or DM me at combatathletephysio. Both of those links are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.